Here we go. Hello, welcome back to Roadwarden. Hopefully we're going to make a bit more progress today, instead of banging our head against monkeys. How's that camera tracking going? There it is. And we should probably save a bit more often. Well, we'll head south then. The air is fresh, just as it was in the tavern. The light touches the road and shrubs, blocked only by a single willow, wild and untrimmed. You're by a lake, too large for you to see its other bank, but the local soil isn't too fertile. There are only a few trees on the horizon, while the struggling bushes and grasses fight with layers of rocks. In the south, you see uninviting hills, cut with tiresome roads. A grey rabbit is cleaning its fur near the brook, but the sound of hooves makes it hop towards the nearest shrub. Right after it sinks into the leaves, you hear it squeal, cut off quickly. Whatever its hunter was, it leaves behind only the rustling of a thicket and a trail of blood. You wait a long minute with a hand on your axe, but the creature doesn't return. You relax a bit, then turn towards the stone statue of a young woman. I ride a bit closer to it. Such a monument would be better fit for a temple or a rich city folk's house. Here, without any cover, it's already losing its shape from the rains and dust. Chunks of the face and hair have already broken off. It has detailed eyes and human-like proportions, and the clothes are like fabric petrified by a spell. The statue carries the usual travelling equipment, a walking staff, a gambeson, simple pants now covered by leaves. Let's look at the pedestal. Maybe somebody left something valuable here. You dismount and approach the bushes covering the legs of the pedestal. See some old wooden bowls as well as rocks. Try to push the leaves away, but their stems are thick and healthy, crowded with insects and spiderwebs. Until you remove the thicket, you won't be able to see if there's anything worth stealing. Thankfully, there are no thorns, and the touch of a leaf doesn't make your finger itchy. Need about half an hour to cut it down with my axe. You tether the sodal to the tree, letting it choose between drinking, grazing, and napping. You prepare your equipment, keeping an eye on the bush where you saw the rabbit's last moments. You use your weight to move the plants to one side, then cut right above the ground. The stems are healthy and flexible, so getting through them is rough, but you have enough strength to deal with them in a couple of minutes, then throw them into the lake. The work goes on for a bit, but once you're done, the statue stands in its former glory. A couple of old offerings are still on the pedestals. Polished rocks, bone figurines, and mouldy bowls and plates that used to store food. In one vessel you see a dragon bone. It's dark and could be older than a generation, but it would surely be accepted by any merchant. Pick it up and put it in my pouch. Wash it in the brook and straighten up just a bit richer. The statue is silent. Consider washing myself in the stream. Brook would hardly cover your feet, but you could sit on the pebbles and splash yourself with water. I wash my shell. And step away. And that's it. How are we for time? 4 hours. No, we can make decent time in 4 hours. Oh, depending on how much time we waste at each encounter. The valley is flanked by the hills. To the west, the grasses and bushes blend into the horizon and turn into another part of the forest. The southern hills are grey and tall, with fortress-like rock faces and crown of conifers. The northern ones have countless sand-coloured rocks, lumped together like piles of rubble and clay, bearing hardly any soil or weeds. The plants here are struggling. The grass is short and yellowish, sometimes dried out. The bushes have Silver leaves, like many plants from sunny areas. Mushrooms can't hide in the shadows, but as you approach one you see it's growing from the remains of a dead bird, while others are colouring old branches and other plants. They won't last much longer. Easy to spot any large beasts around. You have to squint to spot the first threatening creature. The runner is in the far east, close to the hills, though it completely ignores you walking around and observing the grass, looking for its next prey. You don't have to worry about it for now. There are boot prints on the road, as well as in the short grass, fresher than even on the western roads. Since many mushrooms were cut away with a knife, you notice few berries on the shrubs. You conclude it's a foraging spot for the people from the north, though there doesn't seem to be much food left. There are almost no prints leading farther south. You let Sodal keep itself busy while you walk around, looking for anything edible. Takes a fair bit of time. You don't plan to carry around raw mushrooms and bugs, and the wild vegetables need to be washed before you put them in your bag. You finally find a few handfuls of plants, fruits and nuts. Next time, however, it's not going to be so easy, especially since the runner, a bird both taller and wider than you, observes you carefully. At first from a distance, then circling around you. After about half an hour you hear its piercing shriek as the creature runs at you, shaking a beak larger than your head. You throw everything into a sack and get on the saddle. Okay, how do I want to... Quick save here, and I just want to keep travelling. We might be able to reach another village. Apparently our main villages are here at Howler's Dell, White Marshes, Creeks, Gale Rocks. The only tracks in sight belong to small critters. The cabin has no window, but a stubborn beast could easily burst in through the old thatch. A gust of wind doesn't move the door. A curious ibex observes you from the crag, but flees from your gaze. Just check on the cabin. You tether Sodal to the supporting beam. Its curious eyes are tracking the crickets that jump along the grass blades. You stretch your limbs, adjust your armour, and reach for the axe. Let's get the drop on anything that's in there. Burst it. The spider looks at you from the centre of the web. Its shell is larger than your head, and the thin legs are longer than your arms. Its countless hair blends with the walls. They're brown grey cream. What do you do? Let me think. What do you try to do? Strike. You rush forward and the spider skitters off, shaking the entire web. You fail to avoid its spit. The sticky ooze hits your eyes, covering them like glued cloth. Don't have time to clean my eyes. Okay. How do you deal with a spider? Let's just go left and right without pause. You cut the air at knee height, but somehow the creature reaches your side. Your calf gets pierced by the spear's sharp leg. Your heart beats faster. You keep control over your limbs and remain standing. The next swing lands. The sack of flesh smacks the floor and clicks in agony. You hear only your own heart and the chirping of insects outside. You're getting sweaty. Your eyelids can't even blink. You drop the axe on the floor, then sit on the threshold blindly. I remove it gently, bit by bit. The saliva clings tightly to your skin, but stretching it with your fingers helps. The eyelids are the worst part, but you're grateful for your reflexes. At least you still have eyes. You get to see the light slowly, then the shapes. The thing turns out to be grey and white. You stand up and look around. The room is covered with a thick layer of dust. Getting through the web could be risky. A single thread won't stop you, but a bunch of them could grapple you for good. Let's get rid of the spider carcass. You put on your thick gloves and grab 4 spider legs at once. The corpse isn't heavy, so you drag it behind you. You reach the bushes at the edge of the road, then lift up the entire creature. The more you shake it, the more distracting the twitches of its legs get. You send it into a tree trunk. It sinks into the thicket, causing a bit of rustle among the dwellers. Don't have much time. Let's light the web. Melt the web. You unpack a candle in your tinderbox, then sit on the ground and prepare the flint and linen char cloth. Decades ago, before the southern invasion, people used fires. Yes, we know over that. Holding the copper candle holder, you approach the spider webs. It doesn't take long. The isolated threads of silk melt as quickly as human hair and smell just as bad. You remove the strategic spots, letting the web fall on the floor. You notice maybe a dozen defenseless spiderlings. They flee towards the exit with their speed limited by their tiny legs. They're smaller than a finger. Trample them. On their death, they make a squish. Search the building. Ooh, 2 quarrels. The chest hides a few old water skins and inedible stale rations. Among them, however, you find 2 quarrels for a crossbow. The bones have no obvious owner, but judging by their age and the lack of skull or human-like hands, you doubt they could have been awoken by the fox. The boots, rugged pants, and old, sticky tunic and other scraps are cheap and hide no jewellery. The bowls and mugs are empty. Soto observes the area nervously. He pat its side, but without much conviction. Getting dark. We might be boned. We continue on this way. Muddy roads slow you down. Let's try and continue on, I guess. Let's actually see what happens when night comes. A gentle road leads uphill, getting more rocky and bright as the trees grow sparse. Just in case, your eyes run toward a few drier parts of the meadow, and you instantly shout at Sodal to make haste. A pack of short-haired wolves, at least 20 members strong, is chasing after you. Their coats are a mixture of yellow, black, and white spots, and if someone threw mud and paint at them, They move towards the road with human-like speed, and you realize only some of them run straight at you, trying to cut through your path. If it wasn't for your palfrey, the beast would have already caught up with you. Their trap was perfectly set up, not leaving you any path of escape. Your terrified mount is disciplined enough to stay on the beaten path, and even though one of the big-eared wolves almost sinks its teeth into your mouth's thigh, you manage to squeeze between the hunters. For the next few minutes you do your best to get further away, and while your gallop is indeed faster, the wolves easily shorten the distance by moving through the sparse forest. You cross a weird river bridge made of a stone slab, but the chase doesn't stop yet. You think about your sacks and bundles, but the pack won't wait for you to sort through things. The group gets larger the further you go, and even more of its members, previously hidden among the rocks and grasses, now join the hunt, allowing their tired family members to slow down. You may be able to lose them after some time, but scaring or wounding some of them may force them to give up their prey. My crossbow is ready. You reach for the drawn crossbow and bolt, then lock your sights on the closest creature. You wait until you learn its rhythm, then shoot it once it's mid-air. The arrow flies through the wolf's flesh, causing it to let out a pained cry and plunge into the ground. Concerned allies howl with fear and anger, while a few of them try to keep up. Many more stay behind and surround their pack member, protecting it from potential threats. After another few minutes, you are alone again, this time on the crossroads at the foot of a watchtower. Sodal is tired but patient, more happy to survive than it is angry at your wanderlust. At least you hope the pack will move to a different place during the night. Let it rest and look around a bit. We travel to the 4 major crossroads that connect the peninsula. While the hills are full of life, you don't hear anything coming from the watchtower. Its upper level lacks a wooden platform from which guards could fire their crossbows or drop stones on the opponents below. So this place was not meant to be used in combat, but rather as a shelter from claws and fangs. Such structures can be found especially in untamed parts of the Dragonwoods, used occasionally by travellers or patrolling squads. Since the end of the war, the cities can't find enough people and dragon bones to keep them in good shape. You see no footsteps, no lights, no fresh trash or a latrine. Oh. 15 minutes before dusk. Dusk is when it sets, so we still have 15 minutes. See no footsteps, while the branches of nearby trees are swaying in the fierce cold wind. Take a look at the signpost. The planks and letters are damaged by decades of rain, frost, spores, and claws. You scratch off some of the moss. There are 3 planks on the signpost, each one pointing in a different direction. The letters don't tell you anything. Plank on top points both south and north, but there are no pictures that would tell you anything more than that. Beneath it points east, and there's a word written in blue paint. The arrow here looks more like a magic wand. The bottom plank has a picture of a tall tower surrounded by little houses and points west. So hang on, east. Yeah, okay, well I can't travel anywhere currently. The east goes north. Yeah, so east off to the witch. Right? Yeah. It sounds like east is where we'll go next. Maybe there's something interesting among the spruce trees. It must be a human-made copse. Only the smallest of spruces are out of order, born of wild seeds. The largest trees are as tall as the tower itself, which surely doesn't help those who are meant to observe their surroundings. But there are also some stumps, most of which used to belong to young saplings. These trees were likely meant to be sold to carpenters and coopers, but they were left alone many years ago. In the copse you find wild fennel and lettuce thriving in the shadows. There are pears and berries growing among them, nearby trees and shrubs. How am I for... Ooh, got wild plants. Not very filling, but it's food. Examine the campfire spot. See a shattered bowl, the remains of a meal from many years ago. However, the firewood and lonely stool are not too old. You don't doubt that the watchtower seems less threatening to wayfarers than the wilderness around it. Walk to the gate. Setting up a firm wall in a place like this is a bit unusual. It goes on for no more than 40 feet, till it connects with natural rock face. Such a structure could be found near the city, acting as a checkpoint at which to stop any travellers to search through their belongings or request a fee. But in the middle of nowhere, deer and other animals used to run here with no hindrance. Must have been more than annoyed, a risky investment. You touch the gate, made of high quality wood, previously soaked in oil, now mostly wiped off. It was left open and you don't see any wooden bar that would be used to lock it. You try to remove the cold planks, buried in dried out mud, but with no luck. It would require some wary digging. You take a look at Sodal. If necessary, it could bow its head and walk inside. This place should be a decent shelter for both of you, thank goodness. The planks are strong, heavy, well protected from the rain and wind. When you knock, they seem to be thick. While the door shakes at your push, it won't open. Defensive structures usually have a locking bar on the inner side, but you also see a large keyhole. You walk around the tower, making sure there are no open windows or any other entrances. It doesn't look like you can get in without destroying the door, and doing so is going to make a potential entryway for wild creatures. You kneel down and take a peek. There's nothing in the hole, but the room is dark, with tiny bits of light passing through the crevices of the windows. See the shapes of wooden furniture, like tables, casks, and a ladder, but the only movement you notice belongs to the dust dancing in the sunbeams. Oh well, I have to take my axe and break through. You start chopping the door in a spot where two planks are connected to one another. It takes a bit of time and some precision, especially since you struggle to find the right angle to take a swing. Finally, the wood cracks and you push it, lets out a dizzy creaking of rusty hinges. An empty table stands in the middle of a large round room filled with dusty furniture. Without the open door, you would struggle to see anything. You wait to be sure that nothing tries to jump on you and hide your weapon. Need to remember to sharpen it later. The first thing you notice is that the room isn't high, and just like the windows suggested, there's a second floor above. The scent sparks an image of a cellar, humid, but without much mustiness. Tree stumps, used as stools, surround a round table in the centre, now covered in dust. The shelves are empty, with no tools left behind, and you see a couple of dishes laying in various spots, empty, sticky. The bugs are crawling on, both on the furniture and near the walls. Spiders, roaches, worms. You think about taking a look into one of the casks, but the smell coming from it makes you change your plans. Instead, you climb the ladder. The view isn't much different. The floor is covered with pieces of trash, dirty furniture, and sleeping pellets, which are moist, smelly, and full of wriggling, chirping creatures. I don't care about some bugs, I just need to ignore them. You climb down. Soda was standing as far away from the dark exit as possible, afraid of what may come inside. You approach the windows, each one locked with two heavy wooden bars. Opening them would not be a problem, but knocking them down from the outside won't be an easy task. You sigh with relief. It's a safe place. I should spread my bug repellent around. That's what I have, right? Bug repellent? Herbal bug repellent, yeah. At least they won't bother me in my sleep. You open the jar, releasing the pleasant herbal sweetness. You take a stick and use it like a brush, spreading the ointment near the larger pieces of furniture, under which you would expect to find the colonies of worms and insects. You also put it on top of and inside the pallets, as well as around the windows, under the door, and in the corners. The remaining balm finds its place in a couple of holes that you spotted between the bricks. You found something unusual in the space between one of the pallets and the wall, an old moulding wax tablet. There are some writings inside. For now, you put it in your bag. In less than half an hour, you already see roaches that either lie still or kick their legs desperately while on their back. Put an empty jar on the table. Maybe something will fly into it. You're at the ground floor of the watchtower. It's weirdly quiet here and you see almost no movement. In that case, eat some plants. And we can eat some more plants. Now we're full. And we sleep. Oh man, I'm glad I pushed on and found that shelter. That was good luck. It was risky though. 15 minutes before the sun set. Scratching from the lower floor wakes you up. You get out of the blanket and look down the ladder. The main door shakes just in case. You open the window and glance outside. A pale, muscular fright ape tries to open the entrance with its massive hands, but to no avail. After it hears the screeching of a shutter, it looks at you with its dead black eyes, then grabs one of the bricks and bounces up, shortening the distance quickly. You lock the window with every bolt and bar it has, just in time to keep the shouting monster away. The ape punches the planks fiercely, then climbs even higher, looking for another entrance, but is incapable of recognizing the trapdoor, and after another few minutes, you think it gave up. Just to be sure, I inspect every window and main entrance. Oh. You wake up in silence, barely hearing the wind outside the tower walls. You gather your things and climb down, where Soda was napping. Push away all the furniture that you used to barricade the door, and finally walk your mount outside. You allow it to graze on grass for half an hour, and you place all your riding equipment on it. Then checking your belongings. Thankfully, you find no sign of bugs. Alright. That went alright, all things considered. Save. Here we go. Okay, so we're on day 5. So it'd be around day 11. I need to go back to the inn and help catch the Roadrunner. Roadrunner? Is that what it was called? Can't quite remember. But I just need to go empty my bladder. I'll be back in just a moment. Oh yeah, good. First thing when I come back, make sure I am unmuted. I don't want to do what I did with Blossom Tail again, especially not on something like this. Alright, we've got a whole day ahead of us. We're pretty decent. Like half health on everything. Anyway, I want to go east. The first part of the trail is narrow and overgrown. The steep crag in the south divides the lush forest in half. You barely recognise any shapes in the entanglement of greys, browns and greens. The northern landscape, while similarly impenetrable, is the exact opposite. The meadow turns into barren hills and mountains, barely covered by grass and bushes. Maybe the riding ibexes of the clanspeople from the growing mountains would get through such a barrier. There are no clans here. Point at this icon to display an entire area. Ooh, cute. Okay. The road leads you downhill to the edge of a lake. The clearing around the dwelling is quiet, with no crickets, flies, or even toads. The grass is not even knee-high. There are no signs of a wharf or boats. The wall wasn't coated and has already been bitten by winds and rains. Look for an entrance. Right next to the gate, a gargoyle, or a stone look-alike, kneels on the slab. It's dark purple, almost black, with yellow pointy teeth, though its half-open mouth has no tongue and the creature doesn't even move an inch. The eyes have been replaced by crystals, red like currant juice. Touch the gargoyle. Your hand seems tiny when placed on the monster's shoulder, which is coarse and cold like rock. You consider pushing one of the teeth, but the eyes of the gargoyle suddenly grow brighter. What do you want? I'm not expecting anyone. The words are coming from the monster's mouth, though it remains still. Stand in front of me. I want to see your mug. The drawling voice belongs to a woman, but is lined with unnatural creaking. The eyes don't rotate, nor blink. Who are you? That's way too friendly. Yeah, I'm gonna quick save. I'm actually gonna go vulnerable for this. Distance doesn't seem right. Is that so? My house is in a shelter for vagrants. You need to stay somewhere, go back to the tower. You even know who I am? I believe so. What do you call it? Shit. People. That's the trader. That's Asterion. It's Dalit. The brothers. Foggy. Lausia. Rentius. Quintus. Darius? Fuck, I don't know. I guess I don't know. Shoot, I just got told there was a witch here. Witch. So you lost your way and now you're wasting my time. You're lucky I'm not working. Remember, I meet with people only in the evenings or at the early mornings. Wait, we're opening the gates. Monster's eyes darken again. Soon after, you hear heavy steps and the earth shakes. Something lifts the beam blocking the gate. You realize that your hand is already on the haft of your axe. One day such instincts are going to save my life. The gate opens violently, and rebounds with a loud thud, almost closing again. The creature in front of you is made of floating rocks that appear to be connected, but it's just an illusion. They could twist and bend in every direction. The eyeless sentinel faces you blankly. You've seen some golems in Hovlaven, endlessly helping with bothersome tasks, but you've no idea what makes them move. It lowers its slab-like hands and steps aside, making way for you. Its head rotates, following your steps, but other than that, it's as motionless as a statue. Into the yard. I see. The house in front of you has a huge entrance, just large enough for a golem. The building is whitewashed, but the lime is aged and damaged. The tools are spread around in no particular order. The rocks resting on top of the shed resemble the golems. A few birds stare at you from the roofs, while many more ignore you. None of them seem willing to approach the garden patches, despite the growing, though neglected, vegetables. I wonder about. By city standards, the place is spacious. It could fit a few more houses. The smaller structures look solid, and you spot many tools made of iron and steel. The owner must be wealthy. The labour and building materials must have been worth a sack of dragon bones. Yet the walls are far from safe. Any large monster could burst inside, and the house seems to have no other protection. Finally, a leaf of the door opens. Step closer. The woman is tall and stands straight, with her arms crossed and legs apart. She's more than 30, with a face touched by a lack of sleep. She gives you a long look, observing your blade, hands, boots, forehead, everything but your eyes. I greet you, without the distortion caused by the gargoyle. Her strong voice isn't as disquieting. You're free to look around, but you won't find much. I don't hoard treasures, I make them. Give her a better look. She's wearing a long ragged robe covered in stains. It used to be blue, but now is unevenly pale. She's barefoot, with skin covered with dust and dirt. Her dark hair was recently washed, but it's untidily spread on her shoulders, back and chest. She wears no jewellery, belt or buckles. I'm glad you have a moment to spare. I won't bother you for long. She looks at the ground and draws out her words. I sure hope not. I'm not interested in chatter. But if you need to bother me, speak in the tongue of dragons and barter. I don't serve stew, I don't offer baths. If you've come here, I better get aught from it. She walks past you and cocks her head towards the golem who let you in. It turns around and shuts the gate. Good that you came at such an hour. Keep it up in the future. If you ever come here in the middle of the day, you'll stand outside looking at the doors like an ibex. And here I am, Eudocia, the best and only enchantress in this corner of the world. Her voice remains cold. Why are you here? Learning more. She leans away, frowning. I can't even begin to describe how much I hope you aren't here to exchange gossip. If you crave it so much, ride south to the Pelt of the North. The keeper is stiff like a broom, but offers a nice room. She glances at you, but with her grey irises remaining absent. Or if you'd rather visit a cheerful place, ride north to Foggy Lake. Was it Foggy's Lake? Whatever. Foggy is the keeper, at least she's not as boring as the other guy. Do you have anything interesting to sell? Well, I'm not a trader. I do stuff people ask me about, and they're not for sale. She glances at the house, then towards the pocket at her hips. But there's one tool I'm willing to part with for 11 bones. It's for spellcasters only. She reaches out to you, her open palm. You see a flat, small pebble, bluish, in no way unusual. You put it in your mouth and press it to your palate, no chewing. If you're a sorcerer, it'll restore your pneuma. I'll think about it. Okay. Okay, there's a lot here. I've heard about the bandits. Do they bother you? She puts her hands on the side and straightens up, displaying her unusual height. Is this another sick game of hers? If so, tell her I'm not interested in her head or her offers. You notice the sudden movement of the golem. Okay. Found a barren field that may be affected by a curse. Do you have anything I could use to see if I'm right? A cursed field? Where did you find this stuff? As you explain briefly, she observes your boots. I know the place, but she steps away and approaches the garden patch by her house. She observes it for a moment, then kneels down, paying no attention to her robe, and reaches for a wooden spade. What she digs out looks like a tree sapling with 2 leaves that are as large as a hand and a thin elastic stalk. It's shorter than your head. You should look at that, it's still green. Give me 2 dragons and I'll put it in a bag of soil. Should survive at least a couple of days. Okay. Which place has cursed soil? Trying to remember, it's been a while. Ruined shelter. Hang on. I need to check my journal. Maybe it's a quest. That's the eastern path. Okay, the ruined village. Telling me I found this cursed place, but I don't quite remember where it was. Explore the peninsula. Meet Eudocia. So Asterion should be in the north somewhere. Okay. How does it work? She straightens up. Well, you plant it, of course. Wait for half an hour and you'll see. If it grows an inch, she frowns and raises the plant to her eyes and grunts. Forget it. If it bursts into bloom, the soil is enchanted. If it withers, it's a curse. It stays the same, no pneuma. Pneuma? How do you pronounce that? We'll go with pneuma. She lowers it again. Just be careful when you do it. It loves fogs. So it's a plant that grows by magic? Yes, and it costs 2 dragons. I'll think about it. Have you ever been to the shortcut? Only once, she admits slowly, and it's not a good memory. Her brief tale is rather vague. She once had to use her golems to travel to the other side, seeking a remedy for a stomachache. The beasts were afraid of the noise they make. She points at the massive stone legs of her creation. But the monkeys in the far west were too dumb even for that. They kept throwing things at us, even poop. She pauses, making a disgusted grimace. We couldn't reach them or scare them away. You ask what happened next, but she crosses her arms. I was told it was better to ignore them, let them get used to one's sight. But my stomach was better already, so we just took the long way back. Have you seen these hunters? Dahlia, Edmund, Vashel. Edmund, he was here, alright. Asked me about the lands east of the stone bridge in the north. I couldn't help him much. Those lands are better left to... She pauses, then waves it off. Where do you live out here? She looks around. No. Fine. Okay. That's fair. What can you tell me about enchanting? She looks at your hands and starts to twirl her hair. Naught, really. I don't know how I do the stuff I do. As a kid, I put pneuma into my toys. I made my earthen sparrow fly, and my whistle gave the tune without being blown. I practiced for years, but by doing, not by understanding. She puts a hand on her hips and observes her clean nails. I can't teach stuff that's in my fingers, or my eyes, or my breath. It's just a part of me. No, I don't really care about the golems. Golems are golems, really. Have you seen Asterion? I know not where he may be, but if he wanted to be found, he'd let us find him. What else? Do you have a job for me? She stands still for a moment, then cocks her head to the side. I've got some stuff that could use another hand. You up for some danger if it comes to it? You nod and ask what sort of creature is bothering her. No, I meant riding and climbing. If you can do it without grabbing that axe of yours, fine. Now give me a moment. She opens one of the heavy doors to her house and you catch a glimpse of a messy bed and a floor covered with its clothes. With clothes. After a minute, she shows up with a large sack filled with rods made of smooth, clean bronze. Here's the gist of it. I need you to get to 8 spots across the peninsula. High buildings, trees, mountainsides. I don't really travel much. She lets out a confident chuckle. But I can't hold your hand. I need one of them in white marshes, in the wetlands far west of here. Other than that, you need to keep your eyes open. She takes one of the rods. Once you reach a good spot, place one of these as high as you can. I'll pay you in dragons, 2 for each one. but place at least 4 before you come see me. I need as many of them out there as possible. So far so good. What are they for? Oh, there's magic in them, as you can imagine. You weigh a rod in your hand. Even though it's more than 2 feet long, it's light, empty inside. You could bend it on your knee. The bag also contains a long hemp cord and a scrap of cloth. If I were to send my golems away, let's say a mile or 2 from here, they'd stop moving at all, waiting for me to show up. She approaches the nearest sentinel and touches its chest. They carry similar rods outside, so the plan is to give them my orders at better range, so to speak. I'm tired of depending on hirelings, especially since they no longer stop by. She leans against the golem, with her arms crossed. Questions? Much time. Oh, don't worry about it. Let's say before the leaves turn yellow. Okay, that's fine. Have a deal. She avoids your eyes. Great, just don't die on the road. This bronze cost me many favours. I'll be sure to leave one of the rods in White Marshes. White Marshes is that one. Yes. Why White Marshes specifically? Because of the undead? No, why? She scratches the ground with her foot, then points at her golem. I still need a bit of work with the sentinels, but I hope to offer one to them, maybe in the spring. Could replace 10, 20 humans. The villagers may not have much food right now, but I know how to be patient. It's very pragmatic of you. What can I say? She brushes her long hair with fingers. I'd rather be safe than scared. Can you fill an item of mine with pneuma? It's not how this works. She points at her golems. Her nails are short and clean. Her hands are soft. I work all the time, but each item takes me days, sometimes a full season. The tribes bring me things to enchant in the early spring and collect them a year later. I've got to... She blinks a few times, not sure what to say. Her grey eyes widen. Imagine stuff. It takes great focus. You mentioned that you'd generously reward her, but she only shrugs. You don't plant, you don't build. I won't eat dragon bones. For now, do your warden duties and come by the end of autumn. Maybe I'll have something done for you after the thaws. I'll think about it. Alright. Somebody wanted a potion or something? Ruined village. I just need to double check all my quests because we kind of just gathered a bunch of them up. Nearby clearing was massive, large enough to provoke the wrath of herds. Many claw marks. Unusually wealthy. A wooden wagon and a set of tools were thrown into the river right next to each other. Read the letter for the man, meet with the necromancer, hunters. The one is to the north, at the stone bridge, and then to the east, I guess. Merchant's medicaments. It's looking for a healing potion. I need to deliver it to him on day 10 or earlier. Could look for the potion in the secret chamber of a dolmen somewhere on the southern road. Merchant gave me a key for it. Or buy it from the monks in Old Pagos. Still haven't been to Old Pagos. The Old Pagos must be over this way somewhere. Alright. So... make a save. Yes, we'll head up to the old bridge, see if we can find a path. With no trees or crags blocking the sun, the road is bright and inviting. The simple bridge is centuries old, bitten by time. The torrent here is deep and fast, with plenty of fish. The boat is destroyed beyond repair, rotting, falling to pieces, with holes in the floor and on the side, overgrown with fungi and moss. The thick shrubs lining the path are covered with thorns. Small birds are jumping from one twig to another, pecking at the brown berries. You're thinking about picking some fruits, but you're not sure if they're edible. Alright, wash myself. But you undress, keeping your axe at hand, and check the water with your hand. It's as warm as it is clean. You step in, hearing your mount's fearful snort, and a harsh bite reaches your calf. What is it? A fish? No, I don't think so. I just had a good day, so no, away. Reload. I won't wash myself there. I will be stinky instead. Take a closer look at the fish. See a dozen of red and grey shells. As you walk by, they stay close, following your steps. Look around for an hour or so. After what feels like an eternity of searching around the boat and the banks and the shrubs, you sit down on the bridge to take a break, then realise you haven't actually looked beneath it. Kneel on the grass and look into the darkness. Among the cobwebs and bugs, you spot an old piece of fabric pinned under a rock. You pull it out and find a rotting, torn pouch that contains a single dragon bone. You make sure you haven't missed the others in the dirt, but if they ever existed, they've rolled down and sunk for good. Okay. About east of the stone bridge, huh? Well, okay, so that would be the shortcut. Let's just head down this way. Loop around. The neglected path barely finds any space among all the hills, trees and streams. There's a deer on the ground, lying in a red puddle, surrounded by a pack of small creatures which notice your presence quickly. There's about 8 of them, with thick furs and shades of brown, grey and black, and hairless faces with small eyes and large mouths, currently stained by the blood of their prey. Some of them move on all fours, while others comfortably stand on 2 feet. I've got a really itchy nose today. Scratch. They are 2 to 3 heads shorter than you, but it's your mount which truly towers over them. And you see how a couple of the beasts take a few steps back, grunting and glancing at one another. The one with grey fur shouts, and the others move towards the rocks and sticks which are piled up on the road. They hold them awkwardly, and some struggle to maintain a straight posture, leaning on their new weapons for support. Then, almost all of them spread out to your left and right, blending with the shrubs loudly. Only 2 of the apes are standing still. I grab my axe and hold the reins tightly. Sodal tries to turn around, but loyally follows your directions. Ah, I see. So the fighter knows which options not to choose. What if we just charged right at them? Since they're currently trying to surround me, we'll just run straight through them, right? Your mount speeds up, though it doesn't have enough space to enter a gallop. Prepare your weapon, but while you may have had hundreds of hours of training behind you, hardly any of them happened in the saddle. You do your best to focus. The younger goblin attempts to stop your horse, but the strike it receives sends it to the nearby bush, screaming in pain. The grey one, however, managed to grab your boot and is now trying to keep up with your speed, making one long leap after another. The first strong swing of your axe wasn't able to reach the target. A spear would do better in this scenario. I'm not going to take a swing at it in case I hit Sodal, so we'll try kick it off. You swing your foot around, or at least try. Overwhelmed by the weight and muscles of the beast, you finally find the right moment when the goblin lands on its paws. A precise hit between the eyes makes it roll over the road, and your mount runs faster. Your leg is free, the road is clear. Ride as fast as you can. For a few moments you hear angry shouts and screeches, but soon after that it's again only you and your mount. Time to see what we're going to find down the road. Ugh. A round pine tree blocks the road. For a wayfarer, walking over the thin branches at its top is not much of an issue. Even Sodal, led on a rope, could walk around the stump, but a large wagon couldn't move onward in one piece, at least not without detaching the mules, unpacking all the wares, and moving everything by hand. Cutting the tree to pieces would take hours, even with proper tools, and you can't hope to move it with just the muscles that you and your mount have to offer. Let's look around. Surrounding area. You walk deeper into the wilderness, searching through the shrubs and trees. You don't find any side paths nor remains of a camp or a hamlet. The first game trail you find has been exclusively used by animals. The leaves are not completely dry, and when you break one of the twigs it still contains water. There are no signs of sickness that you can recognize, and the termites and other bugs are still sparse. Beneath the trunk there's no blood, no abandoned limbs. Let's look at the stump. You don't find any marks of a moor or paws. The top is hip high and unnaturally smooth. You could comfortably sit down on it. Look at the tracks. In the trampled grass you find two sets of tracks to follow. There are no hoof prints. The first set is near the destroyed wagon. The wayfarers suddenly stopped. You can see where they made a sharp turn. The second trail was close to the tree stump. Most of the marks were left by flat, cheap boots, not suitable for long walks, but someone was wearing hard, wide heels distorting the ground. Both trails avoid the eastern wilderness. They stick to the main road and lead you north. They could have belonged to 24 people, maybe more. You follow them for a bit, but lose them once there's no more mud and trees to find. Wagon. The planks are still firm and there's no mustiness in the air. But the vehicle needs just a push to fall to pieces, like a child's toy with nothing to keep the parts together. There are ways to construct a wagon with just wood, leather and fibre, but you find the marks of hinges, braces, nails and clamps, which are all now gone. The wheels are missing their steel rims. You find only one linen bag, empty and moist. You can't estimate how deep the tracks are. The ground was hard, so the cart's weight wasn't a significant factor. River. It would only take 2 steps to disappear in the deep water. The rocky bank smells fresh and filled with the sounds of frogs, insects and birds. It's not a good spot to quench your thirst. The beds of long kelp pulled by the flow of the river are crowded with fish and 4-legged creatures that you don't even recognize. Keep an eye on the land. There's no carcass in sight and no signs of shells that would be left nearby. Look at the bushes. There are no berries left, only broken twigs, fallen leaves and a trampled grass. Notice a pointy arrow made by a human hand with a head made of horn and black-orange fletching. Don't know what type of bird would have such feathers. See no arrow marks around, not even on the wagon. Western Hill. The rocky wall isn't much of a challenge. The top of the hill is covered with short grass and sparse trees. You notice a couple of bushes with a good view of the road, just next to the remains of a campfire. Charred pieces of wood, ash, bird bones, trampled grass, and a broken earthenware bottle. You follow the deepest tracks, leading to the edge of the soft earth. Someone jumped down, or at least stopped stepping on the grass. The road here is already being overgrown, fading away. It is in no worse shape than the other parts of the southeastern route. No alternate path is formed around the blockade. I think I know what happened here. What do you think has happened to the tree? It was set up as an ambush. Let's quick save. Set up as an ambush. Oh, was the wagon Why was the wagon abandoned? It was attacked by highwaymen. What was originally transported? As far as I know, maybe passengers? It's possible to tell. Open to the owners of the wagon. They were taken north. I think the tree was cut down to set up an ambush. The cart, which transported unknown contents, was attacked by highwaymen. Sure this is what happened? I'm sure. But you can't be sure of what really happened here. You don't think there's much left for you to find. Let's hope you haven't missed anything. Let's not consider washing ourselves in the river. It's the type of thing where we are close to bandits and such. Is this the dolmen? A couple of stone slabs, not unlike the bridge you saw in the northeast, were turned into a hut-like shape, one of the ancient chapels raised by the priests of the United Church in the days of the few soldiers and even fewer shelters. The dolmens proved to be especially durable, though the conditions they offered were harsh. The entrance is barely wide enough to let you walk inside, meant to keep larger beasts away, including your palfrey. Can't spend the night here. Approach the hourglass carved into the stone. It's the most common religious sign of the city folk, adapted by the United Church, Orders of Truth, and the majority of fellowships. It's used in temples and during the funeral rites, but also to decorate codices or jewellery. The winged hourglass portrays the ephemerality of life and the rigidity of time. When possible, they're made of steel, signifying the strength of humankind's determination and innovation. As a member of the United Church, it's my duty to touch the hourglass and pray. The stone welcomes your open palm coldly. The hourglass doesn't start to shine, the birds don't cease their singing, there's no incense inviting you into the chapel. Yet once you close your eyes, gather your thoughts and rub the sacred sign with your fingers, your soul is focused and tranquil, as if awakened after a long rest. Your prayer is built from phrases that you've heard repeated dozens of times by the priest, but some words come straight from your heart. When you ask for right's guidance, you feel invigorated. So be it, you conclude, as tradition has taught you. Step away, into the chapel. Beams of light get through the gaps between the rocks, but you can hardly see anything. A torch will fill the place with smoke, but a candle will suffice. I wonder how many travellers have sat on the cold rock, observing the entrance and fighting with their heavy eyelids. Look around. Yeah. Door. Yeah. Look for something else. Keyhole. You either don't find it or I can't understand you. Okay. Secret chamber is the thing else. Secret chamber. Oh, what? No. Look for the potion in the secret chamber. Trapdoor. Make a couple of small holes in various spots, but the most interesting area turns out to be hidden beneath the remains of an old campfire. You move all the ash and pieces of wood until you find a well-preserved plank. You dig around, finding a solid trapdoor locked with a steel padlock. Open it with a key. You insert the key, and after a bit of wiggling, something clicks. The padlock is cold, dirty and rusty. You easily get to the iron latch, which moves away smoothly. You have no problem unlocking the trapdoor. You lift the hatch, and the heavy, humid air suggests an abandoned farm cellar. Your candle allows you to estimate that the tunnel is roughly 15 feet deep, but there's no ladder that you can use. Think about lowering the rope, but you realise that one of the brick walls is covered with large holes meant to be used as a sort of vertical stairs. You hear no sound coming from the tunnel, but the mouldy walls and old cobwebs are not very welcoming. You move slowly, learning the new route. You hug the cold, moist wall, seeking the support of your boots. It doesn't take long before you feel comfortable enough to jump down, then light up another candle. Both the walls and the floor are made of stone slabs. You see no movement, no other sources of light. The short tunnel leads you to a small room. You walk inside. The room smells of rotting wood and fungi. Abandoned junk is scattered on the ground in shelves. Earthenware jars, rotting scraps of linen or leather, wooden plates, bones for carving, and rusty iron tools. While these odds and ends may be years or decades old, the basement could be as ancient as the main floor of the chapel. The one thing that seems to be uniquely fresh and durable is a small wooden box held together by a few fibre cords. Take the box. It doesn't feel empty, but it's light. You shake it for a bit, trying to guess what's inside. You can't open the box without cutting the cords. Gonna keep it in one piece. And outside, and that's that. And that's the full loop. Oh, that's great. Okay. Do I need to speak to Tulia about anything before I pass by? It's road. Ah, they're in alphabetical order. Okay. Illa wants me to know the roads that connect Foggy Lake and the Western Roads and Southern Crossroads. Do as much as I can to make them more secure, at least bring them news about what can be done to make them so. The spider from the cabin is gone. Cleared the statue of south of Foggy's place. Fallen tree and the dolmen safe. Food to unlock that gate. Alright, I need to stop by... Roundabout Pelt's Inn Keep. Yeah, I need to visit him then. Yeah, okay then. And we'll travel onwards. I don't think there's anything at this crossroad that we pass through. Oh right, I can put bronze rods around here. You tether the saddle to a signpost so it can graze for a bit. I just need to move between the ledges quickly. Thank you, fighter. Background. Do a few squats and stretches to help the fatigued muscles that usually support your riding endeavours. Then make sure that the lowest ledge, or rather a small hole where you could rest your left foot, isn't going to crumble under your weight. After a close examination, you're confident you can do this, so you throw your tools on the grass above you, into the bushes. You put your right leg on the uneven surface, do 3 tests, then get to the top of the cliff in less than a breath. The rocks beneath you start to drop on the ground, but you don't worry about them anymore. As you look down, the crossroads are indeed not so far below you, but it catches your attention how fragile the bridge between the two crags seem to be. Tie the rod to the bear tree. You knock on the dead plant and it's still full of wood, strong. After just a little bit more effort, the rod hugs the trunk, and even your deliberate efforts are not enough to make it fall down. And we travel back down. Okay, so it's worth stopping off at all these places. It's 15 minutes to Tulia's camp. I don't think there's any harm in going there currently. We could probably make it to Howler's Dell. What, we got 6 hours? Yeah, we can make it to Howler's Dell. Even faffing about. Julia welcomes you with a smile. I met with Cassius. You mentioned the tavern in Foggy's care. Tulia sighs with relief and rests her hands on her sides. Alive, that's good to hear. Deserter or not, how he's doing. He's a man of faith now, kind of. You vaguely describe what you've heard, making her scratch her shaved head. It's news to me. I used to know him before he joined the army, never seemed especially bothered with Wright's teachings. One time I saw him with that... She freezes, then lets out a chuckle. Forget it, I'm glad he's right. Found this wax tablet, do you recognise it? She opens it and takes a quick glance. Well, it's from Hovlavin. Asterion and my lieutenants were the only people I've seen with green tablets like this one, and the locals don't write chronicles. I can't read, better look for a priest of the right. Cool. Did you ever lead into the heart of the woods? Oh, we were advised not to. Have you seen this huge gate in the west, made of rocks, very tall? We met a guard there named Quinton, maybe? Kind soul, but a bit slow. He almost begged us not to enter the woods, so we took a longer route. Where all the settlements are anyway. We didn't miss much. Any hunters pass by? Not from the north, not from the south. She lets out a weak chuckle. Didn't expect this place to be that desolate at this time of year. The only soul we've seen in days, unless you count beast folk. Unless they're from creeks, I don't. She smiles. Oh, I didn't ask them, so there's always a chance. Any idea what happened to the ruined village in the west? Nah, there were goblins around the walls, so we never went there. But I was told that the wrath of the herds crushed it, maybe 10 years ago? Your companion agrees with a nod. If there are any survivors, they're surely gone by now. Maybe moved to other settlements, or left the peninsula. Got caught by the bandits. Have you encountered the said bandits? She lets out a sad sigh, so there are other bandits in the woods after all. Your companion hits his forehead with a palm. This peninsula really hates us. Can't make a dent in its shell. Tulia puts a hand on his shoulder, then looks back at you. Thanks for telling us, Roadwarden. If I survive long enough to report to someone, I'll be sure to mention it. Maybe I should learn more about them first. Sure, good luck with that. The man with bird chuckles. Barrel of water. Fish out a few drifting insects. Wash myself a little. Step away. I am not ready to go. We are going to the power to the north. The guard ignores your arrival. As you ride in, the other hunters sitting at the table and on the stairs gossiping with mugs of beer in their hands. You hear the sounds of work coming from the armourer's workshop. Could try and repair my gambeson a bit. I have 9, huh? We'll see it. Some quarrels. Okay. Into the inn. About Glassier's ban. He freezes, observing your hands silently. Wants me to get answer from the Mirror of Hellsdale. I'm on it. Okay. If I had to ask about someone. Okay. If I wanted to ask about Arentius, I could. You avoid your eyes, thinking about the answer for a few good breaths. I shouldn't talk about Arentius, and you won't have a chance to meet with him anyway. Ever since he leads the White Marshes, the only trusted allies of the village can hear his teachings. He lets out a quiet grunt, almost a chuckle. I'm not sure how he got so beloved in the first place. He's greater in thought than he is in heart. Not a people person, you know. Okay, let's change the topic. I still don't have anything out of oh, what's the place called? Owler's Dell. Alright, the armourer. You patch my clothes. You wouldn't even if he had the tools, but you can try and Howlsdale go rock. Oh, my gambeson can be repaired. 1 hour. Okay. I met Ilan. He says hi. I'm sorry, who? Foggy's son. She gives you a beaming smile. Ah, so that's his name. His accent is so thick I kind of misheard it. Forgive me, how is he doing? You gossip about the man and his companion, and a couple of the hunters join your conversation, asking about the Eastern Road, the tavern, the travelling in general. A good couple of minutes is spent on discussing fashion and creeks. Some of the hunters regret not being used to wearing leather and furs, or others are convinced that linen is more convenient. And if you're cold, just put on a cloak, says a woman with a bandage on her neck. After some time, the guard's walking away, leaving you with Dullet and the napping boar. Looking for a few hunters. Don't know those names. She looks at her companions, and while there's someone who claims to have met them, he has nothing to say about them. She then glances at the boar, which is now very interested in the smell of your boots, and giggles. Long way from here to Creeks. I actually spoke with Ephraim. Have you met him? Sure, he's a nice guy. She starts to laugh. Well, maybe I wouldn't say nice, but there's charm to his figure. Can I put this rod on your watchtower? She moves it close to her face, observing it with widened eyes. Is some sort of magic thing? After your reassuring words, she's unconvinced. I don't know. I ain't fired up to do such favours. Maybe ask me after you spend some time around. Show us what you're capable of. Or play dice with us when you get an hour to spare. These folks here. She starts to whisper and points at her thumb at the guard station. They crave gossip. What if I give you a coin? Sure, or that. She reaches out and you palm up. You give her a dragon bone, then a rod. We tie it somewhere, don't you worry. I found this arrow near the fallen tree. Any of you drop this. Now we get ours from the village in the south and they don't use pheasant feathers. The locals ask too much for their arrows, as if they're filled with pneuma or something. Dullet, right? Oh, she giggles to cover her confusion. Are you asking me out? I ain't interested in any silliness. She brushes away her hair from her forehead. The tangled chaos all over her scalp cares not for her efforts. Well, yeah. Half my life ago I was living on crops. But I bet I've shot down more monsters than you've broken eggs. Are you much of a fighter? Many more eyes turn towards you. You live as a traveller, you face enemies, not really an option. Well, Dallop pats the boar, the guards get back to their own affairs. I guess, but there's always an option. To stop the journey, one should look for a new home. Goblins on the nearby ruins that pose a danger. As long as it involves someone paying for it, I'm ready to listen. What do you know about the pack? Without interruptions, you tell them as much as you can. Getting rid of them will do the trick, sure, but as long as those buildings ain't razed to the ground, new beasts will move in, sooner or later, though I ain't one to stop you from reaching into your pouch. A brief smile quirks her lips. Now you need to take care of something. Things first, hunters or not. We won't raid Leah blindly. What do you want me to do? She lists your tasks one by one, in the meantime bending forward to brush the boar. Make sure you've looked around the entire village. My crew will get mad if it turns out that yet another Leah is just behind the corner. Then, be sure there's no soul around. When we fight, we don't do rescue jobs, and if we do, they cost a lot. The boar grunts and turns around, leading her to its other side. Speaking of which, for you it's going to be... She squints her eyes a bit. 10 coins. But we'll take some of the loot we find. We won't let go of magic swords and rings just because. Not that I expect any, but who knows. Just so you know, I'll bring an axe with me. She looks at you as if you're a lunatic. We won't take you with us, Booter. If you can kill a goblin, good. But we have a team, our own words, knowledge of strong and weak sides. We don't need you around, just give us 2 or 3 days after you pay us and we'll take care of it. We'll return later. Okay, that's all good info. Alright, to the ruins. Alright, first of all, quick save. Fish trap. You pull the rope and see 2 flopping fish inside. You prepare your axe, then open the lid and reach for your catch. You stun the animals one by one with 2 careful blows in the top of their heads, then finish them off with a knife, cutting underneath the gill plates. Spend another minute or 2 bleeding out the fish on the stream, then cover them with a waxed linen sheet. You should eat them soon, before they spoil. Ah, okay, that's good. Okay, let's have a look around the entire village. Let's see, that's northeast. Want to look. No, that's northeast. The debris was partially moved outside of the destroyed houses, but you find nothing of value. The table, cupboards, shelves, and bits and pieces were carefully ransacked. The wildly growing vegetables and herbs are the only remnants of the abandoned gardens. You spot fresh human footprints at the entrance to the latrine, most of which lead to and from the centre of the village. Oh, thank you for watching. You notice a set of simple tools leaned against the pile of rubble, a wooden spade and a shovel, a pointed stick, a hoe with a bone head, a stone axe, all of them too old and too awkward to bother with transporting them around, but you'll know where to find them if you need them in future. So do you prefer to watch live, or do you end up watching the VODs? Yeah, you feel a slight aching in your stomach. Yeah, something about this village is just making you sick the longer you stay here. So, need to scout it out as quickly as possible, I guess. Northern Gate. The paths here have almost been reclaimed by the grasses. To your east and west you see shadowy alleys behind damaged buildings. Approach a nearby tree. You don't find anything worth picking. The half-dead quinces have maggots crawling under their skins. You wonder which part of this meal is more tempting for the dark-winged birds sitting among the branches, the flesh of the fruits or the worms. Quinces are rarely eaten without having a chance to blet. You can safely guess that they were meant to be dried or to add taste to cookies or hard drinks. After a few moments you realise that the bottom part of the tree, just above the ground, is partially charred. Someone must have opposed a torch here, but the wet wood didn't burst into flames. Right, look into the well. It's filled up with soil, and you find nothing interesting about it. Open the gate. It may take a bit of time, but with the wooden and bone tools you found in one of the other buildings, you speed up your endeavour. Take the tools, get to work. You take off your cloak and put away your bags and satchels, while Sodal grazes gladly in the meadow. After looking at the pile of dirt, you let out a sigh. You start with the larger rocks, removing the ground around them and pushing them into a single pile. Then you do the same on the other side. A simple shovel and pitchfork help you get help you a lot, and once you're used to them, the work goes smoothly. You're done before you're too tired. From now on, passing through this place will take less time. The closer you are to the village and the longer you stay around, the sicker you feel. Yes, it's true. Push through for now. Ah, great. Affecting my health. Now well, let's get the southeast part of the village done. You find a small backyard. The ground is beaten, the grass grows only right next to the buildings. Would have been a fair spot for training dancers and fighters. The stakes of the palisade are covered with playful carvings left by children who are portraying monsters, weapons and humans. The rubble has been pushed into the corners of the houses. The furniture is broken, but you find something of use in one of the piles, a slightly rusty piece of steel. Once you pull it out, you realize it's a quarrel for a crossbow, still usable. It would be difficult to find a use for it. Alright, so are these fields the ones that were cursed? Surrounded by barren fields. Don't have any way to investigate. Okay. Well, we have 1 hour 15 before night falls, and it's 1 hour 30 to get to Heldersdale. And it won't let me. Okay, so back to the pale to the north then. It's the only way. What does he have for sale again? A commodity, some quarrels. Just heard one of my neighbours' fire alarms go off, so hopefully it doesn't set off the whole building. I could buy some rations, be a decent idea. Oh right, it's 3 rations, okay. Buy more tomorrow if I need. Do you have any leftovers? Yes, I fed them to our boar. Won't give them away for nothing. He asks you to wait. Leaves the building for a moment. Yep, that's fine. Tools are cold, not heavy. Notice a pair of thick gloves. The berries are not a problem, unlike the snakes. We just scare them away. Okay. Go outside. Yeah, it's too dark to gather berries. Okay, into the inn. Just going to have to use rations. Bit of this. No, we have raw fish. Could be bartered or sold for food. Don't put it on the counter if you may. He glances at your catch, then at the stove. My crew doesn't hunt for fish, the lakes and rivers are too far away, and they ain't trained with all the weaving, worms and rods. Sell me 2 at once and I'll give you a coin. Ain't wasting firewood on just the one. Deal. Pull out some items, but the innkeeper shakes his head. Don't need those. Take those things. That's good. Okay, so 1 coin is 3 more rations as well. Which... eat. Return. Sleep. Sleeping in a room would be much better. It'd be worth the money, I think. As you prepare your belongings, you realise that the days are getting noticeably shorter. The closer you get to autumn, the less time you'll have before the beasts of night leave their lairs. Now it won't be that bad, but I better make sure not to waste too many hours. You hear a thunderous roar. You rise to your feet and rub the sleep from your eyes. The doors are opening, people are shouting orders and words of warning. As you open the window, you see what's behind the commotion. Something is on the other side of the wall, trying to get through, and the guards are fighting it off with their torches, spears and crossbows. Thanks to their light, you see the large furry paws placed on top of the wall walk. As far as you can tell, the beast is but a single leap from getting inside. If it's kick in, you see the innkeeper right in front of you, holding a candle. Just after his, "You're a guest, stay here," he says without a shadow of hesitation. "My team has no time to worry about outsiders." Just after his words, you hear cheerful laughter from the wall. Judging by the way they point their fingers and lower their weapons, the beast is fleeing. Well, they don't need my help all the time. Show me your wares, I'll buy more rations. That's all I need. Alright, time to travel. Oh yes, the large tree. Take a closer look at the roots. Kneel in front of one that's lying on the shore. It's brown, covered with hair that resembles your arm. When you touch it, it's moist, soft, and warmer than you would expect. Quick saves. Actually, I should just do a full save while I'm here. There we go. Do something with it. What do you do? Let's just touch. Root is moist, soft, and weirdly warm. Can I speak to it? Stand up. Delta. No, I don't want to do anything. You give nothing. Walk away. Don't really want to give anything to this weird tree, and I don't know how it works. Alright. You approach the opening gate, then swiftly dismount. A guard approaches you, ready to take your mount to a stable. "Hello stranger, what news do you bring?" We gossip for a bit. Curious locals gather around to take part in your conversation. Recently the fields could use some more rain, but no one is happy. And no one is happy to have to water them with buckets. I'm broke. Fill the trough of water from the creek and make sure Soda was comfortable. Alright, offer my services to the guards. A hunting trip. You'll be a messenger between a few groups of hunters that will hide in various parts of the wetlands close to the southern road. Half a day and may get dangerous, but you can earn money that way, I see. Go to the main square. Kakios. About the potion. When you found this box. He raises an eyebrow, takes the box from your hands and cuts the cord with a dagger, filled with rags wrapped around an earthenware bottle. It's small and closed with a tall wax seal, inside of which you see a thin stick. With a grin, he picks up the bottle gently, jiggles it, weighs it in his hand, then puts it on the counter. Great. Now let's hope my little girl will now get herself swallowed by a dragon. So we said 5 rings? It's yours. He smiles and looks at the coins in a large pouch. Thanks, O bringer of good news. Yes, 5. It's good money. Okay. Golem rod, Turnbull tablet. No. What do you have for sale? Stack of linen, a wooden lantern, primitive but convenient. I think the lantern will help me get through that cave, so I'll grab that. Nothing for now. Let's talk to the mayor. Could you read me this tablet? She raises her open palms. You open the tablet yourself and push it towards her. She leans forward with a sigh. Well, half of it's just nonsense. Some letters, numbers, a picture of a boat, I think. and one of a volcano, scrawling about the size of an oar. She suddenly stops. Oh, there's a name. Navica. She sees your look and shakes her head gently. I don't know her. Why are you interested in this tablet anyway? Who's the owner? Not sure yet, but it may be important. First you think she nods to confirm she heard you, then you realise she's gesturing to make you take the tablet away. Well, you could look for boats in Gale Rocks, they know them better than us inlanders. She turns away and looks at Eric's. Can you wipe this? She points at the table as soon as he shows up with a wet cloth. Do you know Eudocia, the enchantress? Like this hang this rod on a watchtower for her. You let her weigh the rod in her hand. It's empty, she says. What's it for? Lie. Okay. Well, we'll try telling the truth since we're trying to be friends. She gives you a long look, then rolls a piece of bronze back to you. The answer is no, and if any of us finds a rod in our woods, you and I are going to have a talk. I have no desire to wake up in the middle of the night surrounded by her stone army. Okay, let's quick load that. She clasps her hand around her neck. Since when does she pay attention to the sky? She wants me to believe she's looking after crops? She tilts her head to the left and purses her lips. Even if such knowledge could have its use, I'm far from trusting her. You should also be worried. She spends a few long breaths in silence, rolling the piece of blondes on the table. I've heard enough. I can't know it's not some nasty trick. You want to have my permission to do your magic experiments, I need to know you. I can trust you. Okay, quick load again. Some sort of magic. Yeah, okay. She needs to know how I can trust you. Yeah, well. Okay. I bring news about Glacia's band. And what are they? The only place bothered by raids is White Marshes. The people from Gale Rocks and Creeks have no issues. So let me check the map. So that's the only place that's getting raided, eh? Okay. She exhales and raises her open palms, so there's no reason to worry. The people of White Marshes are no friends of ours if Glacia is eager to bother with the poorest settlements in the north, especially one filled with the Woken. It must be personal for her. We have no reason to stand in the middle of it. She straightens up and adjusts her cape, then stares into your eyes. Her voice is solemn. As Mayor of Howler's Dell, I appreciate your concern, but I don't share your apprehension. The guards of our village will stay in our walls. Be sure to come see us soon. We will gladly share a lamb and tail with you. Alright, I'll pass it on. She leans forward, and even though she smiles, her voice is close to a whisper. I wonder, why are you here? What pushes someone to become a road warden? Any coin to help a friend I care about. I love this. Just lie. Oh well, truthful. She gives you a wide, white grin, a healthy ambition, and a lovely one. With my weak bones I couldn't be a fighter, but with a few investments I sculpted a place for myself. You want some advice from me? She looks around. Remember your friends. Allies can carry you further than the heaviest pouch. As she moves away, you once again notice the expensive rouge on her cheeks. You need me? Bring me juicy rumours. Maybe talk with my neighbours. Use a few coins. Yep. Thank you for your time. Eric's, have you seen the hunters? Recognise the names, but not seen folks from creeks in a long time. Food rations. Oh, jeez, I never unlocked him as a trader. Okay. Oh yeah, keep them in the hall. Smoked mutton, sack of dried fruits, nuts, biscuits. We eat fresh here and pay with work. Coins ain't worth much. When he thinks his lips move as well. Let's say 1 ring for enough food to fill you for 2 days. In Hovel Oven, that kind of price would buy you 3, even 4 times as much food. If you're in a good mood for spending, I also have something special. Just give me a minute. He goes upstairs and returns with a small wooden box and a hand-long leather sheath. There's a teeth set. You're afraid of what he's going to show you, but when he opens the box you realize he means teeth cleaning. See? Points at 3 different compartments. Salt, cloves and mint. Mix whatever you want here. The 4th holds only a small pestle and made of polished stone. And here are the twigs you need. They'll last for months. Since you're not convinced, he takes a deep breath. Well, we do not let outsiders bathe in our creek, but give me 2 dragons and I'll ask my kids to get you in shape. You'll get a tub with soap and rose oil, and they'll wash your clothes in water. I'll cook you something nice, as much as you can eat. Teeth cleaning set. Ooh, that's kinda cool. I don't need to look good at the moment. Bath and dinner, no, we're fine. Someone contact you? Very much so. Ask for Timo, she's usually at the creek, just outside the southern wall doing laundry. She wants to find herself a husband, but there's not much in it for you unless you're here for marriage rights, but it'll make you happier. Okay. Go to Taylor. No. Okay. Timo. Before you reach the gate, you find 3 washwomen who are walking down the path chatting loudly. The wet hair on their arms and legs shines, contrasting the mud on their feet. Some of them wear soaked shirts and all have their heads wrapped in kerchiefs. You know from the city how hard and sometimes dangerous their job can get. You glance over their laundry pads, baskets filled with clothes and buckets of urine. Once they notice you, one of them puts her things next to a fence and tells the others to go ahead without her. Your companions giggle, but loyally leave the 2 of you alone. I was hoping to speak with a traveller, she starts and looks away. Whenever she speaks, she's both direct and distracted, struggling to explain her plans. After a brief conversation, you try to sum it all up. So you seek a man who will agree to take part in the marriage rites of your druids. She nods energetically, but then freezes. She's tanned from work, but her face is young and smooth. And since her hair is hidden, her bright hazel eyes keep drawing your attention. Now you're just any man, she interrupts you angrily. Someone who stays in the sun and works hard. For us and our kids. You ask if she has any children already, and after another minute of her awkward explanations, you take a guess that she doesn't. You ask if it would make a difference for her to move to a different village. We live good lives here, safe and plentiful. I'd rather stay. But I could leave with a safe convoy. Okay. That's a weird one. Go to... it's quick save. And travel to the Elder's Cave. See if there's a place to put up a rod. 2 blue-tailed monkeys are jumping on the rocky mountainside, chasing each other and screaming cheerfully. For a moment you see not only the old druid, but also his female companion, touched by the years. She's leaned forward. As you arrive, she hides under the cave. The man welcomes you with an annoyed "What? What do you need, traveller?" Can I put a bronze rod here? He takes and observes the rod for a moment, then closes his eyes and bites it gently. When he returns it, he seems unconvinced. I sense the spirit in it, but I'm the one who can tell who's behind it. How can I be sure? You explain you know about the nature of the rods, but he changes the topic to Eudocia herself. Another minute passes by before he accepts that you do indeed know her. Fine, I'll ask for her story next time I see her. Go, but away from the spring. Don't break your neck. Even a child could get into the higher parts of such a rugged cliff, though you have no reason to expect all the loose rocks to be cleared. Take off my armor and such. The bronze rod is attached to your back by a cord. As you place your feet and hands on the rocks, you realize that you have to move slowly, maintaining your balance, pushing away small and large pebbles, making sure that the wall doesn't collapse under your feet. The rocks are coarse, supporting your grasp, and you really find a sharp spot. The climb resembles a nice summer walk, though your muscles are not prepared for such movements. You find the perfect spot, a small crack between two massive rocks. You use the rod to broaden it just a little bit, then push it halfway in and fill the gaps with a rag. Doing it with one hand makes you dizzy, but not for long. Take a short break to catch a second breath. Climbing down is easier, though you struggle to recall exactly where you had previously placed your limbs. The warm sun eases your tension. After a few minutes you land on the soft grasses and dust off your hand. Once again you prepare your equipment. The druid gives the shining rod a pouty look. Any hunters come by? In the opposite corner of the peninsula? Yes, no. Shocking. I figured that was the case. Right. I guess I never went to the Western Crossroads. I'm glad that did end up a place to go. Okay, travel. Need to go this way. The path is clear in a way. The pebbler is nowhere in sight, but the road is covered with leaves and broken branches. Only fruit-bearing trees are growing right on the sides of the roads, surely planted there by humans. There are many more fruits and leaves than ones that may chew on, so it may return any day now. Take an hour or two, but we'll take it for ourselves. Yeah. 2 bunches of wild plants. You prepare all your tools, especially your thick protective gloves, and tether Sodal to one of the younger trees. Still an easy task. You spend more than an hour cutting down twigs, shaking off fruits of the thinner branches, picking them by hand or hitting them with a stick. Your rope helps you stay secure, and the first few minutes of climbing is closer to fun than work, but the longer it takes, the more tired you become. You finally take a break to eat a couple of plums and apples, but the best ones you save for later, covering them with a blanket and putting them on the very top of your bundles. You're standing on a carpet of greens, browns, reds, and purples. You drag some of the thicker branches to the side and make riding forward easier, but the earthworms and boars are going to have a feast. But the pebbler is picky enough to ignore the mess on the ground. Inventory. 10. Yeah. Oh, fruits and vegetables. Very good. The corridor of pruned trees leads you to a steep ascent. Behind them grows a peaceful meadow, filled with flowers and crickets and the humming of a waterfall. On the beaten path you spot no footprints or wheel trails, but there is smoke on the horizon. This mountain leads Sodal. The pastures and fields is spread over an unnatural plateau. Humans must have been carving in the hill for generations, covering it with soil brought here in buckets and wagons. Among the weeds and tall grasses you spot rotting tools and a tunic. The pasture is overgrown, and so do the fields. Some of the oats are ready for harvest. Something is wrong. I repair my axe. The locked gate is taller than a troll, and you can't imagine climbing up the massive wall. For a moment you follow the path to the edge of the cliff. The roaring ocean is more than 100 feet below you. You spot no one looking at you from the watchtower, no patrols of archers. The wall is occupied by black and blue birds of various types. You return to the gate and focus on the sounds. There are a few screaming ibexes. A young boy is crying. Then knock on the gate. The thudding scares away the birds. They call loudly, startling the cacophony of throats and flapping wings. After maybe a minute, you hear a bronze plate scratching against the wood as someone reveals the peephole. A strict female voice stops you from moving closer. Traveller, old Pagos is secluding. for it has been smitten by deadly plague. Be gone before you get sick. Introduce. We can't welcome you with bread nor meat. You look into the young brown eyes that match the skin of the black-haired owner. While the woman looks like a southerner, she has a long, strong local accent. She follows you cautiously without blinking. Like a fighter awaiting a strike. You parted with 12 souls already. The monks in the north are masters of spells and potions, guided by the right themselves, yet even they can't help us. You hear more footsteps gathering near the entrance, and a weak voice of an elder chips in. May them be blessed, for they look after our ill. The woman continues. You won't find shelter here. We ought not drown other tribes with us, such is our duty. A pause. Even if they would not show us such kindness. Have questions? Ask, but there's not much we can do for you. We see no one. We travel nowhere. We were born on this hill and will die here. After a few breaths, her eyes get kinder. I'm Tutia. If you bring any news, I'll take them to our council. Tell me about this illness. She glances at someone or something that stands to her right. It lasts a long time. Even those who seem to avoid death remain weak for days. Their fevers, headaches, red faces, red eyes, and rash. Those whom we have to burn were sleeping and raving, unable to understand us, and got too weak to move or even drink. She looks down. Children and elderly suffer the most. You won't harvest crops? Even though her cold gaze doesn't break, her voice betrays her pain. Some of our youth refuse to stay behind the walls. They say they need to leave before they fall sick. If we were to let them outside, one of them could refuse to come back. You frowned. No, it wasn't pain you've heard, it's shame. Bandits? Not in the recent years, Warden. They did attack us on the road once before, but their little pack won't come here. At first her tone is gentle, but after she blinks twice it turns sullen. Or they would face our anger. Our walls only fear dragons. Our blades are made of steel. I met Quintus, the gatekeeper. He's doing fine. So he's still with us. Her ring fills with enthusiasm. She asks about his well-being, reacting to your story with a mixture of worry and joy. I'm sorry to hear about his nose. I hope he knows what he's doing. In his position, I would just look for work in Howler's Dell, or ask for help from his friends in Pelt. Asterion. You can't tell anything from her eyes. Isn't he dead? What makes you think that? I'd say about any traveller who disappears in the wilds. Wardens may know their roads, but they're not above humans. Don't you know the saying? Wait 2 days for the lost, 10 for the wounded, 20 for the ill and mad. You don't wait for more. So you're waiting for him? That's not much of a secret. She looks to her right, then at you again. Head far east to the crossroads. You find a watchtower and an old building made of our stone. You'll notice the pride in her voice, but hardly used since the war. Your friend wanted to turn it into a shelter. Hire guards patrol the roads. He took our key and rode away. Never meant to meet with us again. Trade for materials and tools. Never happened. Any idea who else might have a key? Before it was completed, the builders were spending the rainy days in the coastal village far north. Gal Rocks it's called. Ask there. So that's Gal Rocks there. Okay. Do you want me to ask for help? There's no love between us and them. We don't share drinks, stories, or dances. If it weren't for marriages, our children would never see each other, and if it wasn't for trade, we could just as well live on a mountain peak. They need our stone, we need fishes and salt from Gal Rocks, game meat from creeks and grain from Howler's Dell. But all of them are harpies led by greed and lust, the same ills that wounded our grandparents. She hesitates and looks to her left. Still, the wicked souls of White Marshes are even more burrowed in shadows. Sounds like you hold a grudge against them. She takes a deep breath, yet I won't spread any rumours. As much as it saddens me, they need to survive, and we need them. And you're even stranger to us than they are. I know how to get there. Northern route, yeah, that's fine. The one by Quintus is the most dangerous path, but your palfrey may be fast enough to get you through. He may not be the sharpest of wits, but he's loyal to his duty and returns kindness with kindness, like we all should. Anything for sale? No, okay. No. Nothing there. She blinks as if the question reached her from another realm. We can't be sure of the next spring, even less so that our gates will ever open. Can't offer you promises for the tribes. That's fine. Okay. Let's head north. You ascend a gentle hill with green thickets coating the valleys. The path is like an endless bridge built by the ancient three-legged giants, or maybe the pagan spellcasters. The higher you get, the fewer plants you see. Hit by a cold wind, you adjust your cloak. I ride slowly, sitting in the center of the saddle. Mountains are harsh for horses. You approach the raised drawbridge and observe the face of the mountain. The hooks holding the hourglass are as large as a person, displaying their devotion to the right proudly. Took tremendous wealth and labour. The rustling of leaves carries no songs of birds, shouts of apes, or whines of hunted critters. The river attacks its banks with a fierce roar. Get off your palfrey. The cave mouths are connected by paths, stairs, and bridges. You don't see any people, but there's smoke coming from one of the entrances, and you hear muffled thuds of a hammer. The gardens are weeded, the buildings firm. The green trees on top of the mountain bear red and brown fruits. Two rounded sticks are tied with a rope to a nearby rock. You grab them and take a closer look. They're claves. Few firm hits and shout a greeting. Friendly. The echo of your hits cuts through the swashing stream. After a few minutes, two hooded figures leave a cave mouth at the top of the mountain and give you a long look from the edge of the cliff, then walk down the path with caution. You smile and wave to them before they disappear behind the buildings, which are made of bricks, not logs, and are covered with tiles instead of thatch. Little by little, the bridge gets looser, then it hits the grass gently. The taller figure, now covered with shadows, invites you with a gesture. I lead Sodal inside. Greetings. And greetings to you. He hesitates, his voice is hoarse but sonorous. Salutations to thou, traveller. He puts his bandaged hand on his waist. You're at Wright's Haven. The greeters take off their hoods. They wear brown, dark, simple worn robes and ropes instead of belts. There's no jewellery or ornaments, just small bags made of fabric on their shoulders. The largest shell belongs to a strong, barefoot man in his 50s. Despite having no weapon, his eyes are audacious and could belong to a muscle standing in the door of a harbour tavern. His wrinkles are subtle, but there are only a few tufts of grey hair left in his greasy head. His skin is pale, covered with liver spots, though at a closer look you realise a few of them are just stains left by ink. Look at the second monk. The girl is about 14, with unsightly acne on her forehead and a robe that brushes the ground whenever she takes a step. Her black hair is tied into a humble ponytail. She observes your horse curiously, cocking her head to his side. But once she catches your look, she meets your eyes boldly, raising her chin as if to challenge you. Thy mount is free to help itself with hay and water. We'll wait outside. Thou can't stay here for now, but leave before the night. The plague is nearby, the struggle ahead. While they indeed have room, their trust only goes so far. They observe you through the open door. The building is a single storeroom filled with crates and barrels, a stack of firewood and another one of bricks, a pile of straw, a chest, 2 wheelbarrows, and finally the racks, shelves, tools, clothing and utensils. The light comes from the open gates, accompanied by the sharp draught. Tether Sodal near the water and join the monks. The lack of walls makes you feel exposed. A few pairs of eyes observe you from the paths above, while others climb to the very top or approach the unremarkable vegetable beds. Most of the dwellers wear hoods, and all of them wear similar worn robes. Chilling wind touches your neck, but afraid of the wind. They keep their distance. The man greets you by raising his open palm, wrapped with bandages that disappear under his sleeve. His lips form something between a sneer and a smile. What brings thee here? Art thou a go-between? The girl keeps an eye on your axe and occasionally glances at your boot, the one that hides a knife. I'm Booter, the new road warden. Good. Well, the roads need their wardens, and folks need their roads, but there are none behind this mountain, and we take care of the one that you've just crossed. Thou dost not need to bother. Thy services are not required. He gestures for you to wait, but where's the man with a red beard? There isn't enough work here for two of you. I was hoping to find him here. Ooh. Jumped there for a bit. Let me quick save. Just in case the game crashes. I'm sorry to disappoint thee. He rubs a liver spot in his hand. He hasn't been here in months. We really have visitors outside. We really have visitors different than our friends from Old Pagos. We don't invite the outside world, and we don't care much for it. As thou check the pal to the north on the southern road, if he's wounded, it's a safe shelter, I've heard. The girl scratches the ground with her boot, though it remains hidden underneath her robe. The man looks at her with amusement. Looks like Decima is eager to return to her duties. I am Ailey, but I'll not shake thy hand. One of us could carry the plague in our flesh. Who can know, who can tell, what brings thee to our monastery? What's happening with old Pagos? Well, his cough doesn't help his hoarse throat. We don't understand what makes it grow. We put to use all the ingredients we found, brewed as many potions and balms as we could, and they worked for one afternoon. Then people once again fell ill. Who can tell where the sickness dwells? A powerful healer could get rid of it once and for all with a single spell, but no follower of the right in the north carries such talents. Maybe it's time for someone to enter the village and look for the source. Thou thinkest? He smirks. The well isn't poisoned, the sea brings fresh air, the crops have their regular colour, the ibexes drop healthy feces. Tribe isn't dumb, no reason to lock you inside. Okay. What do you know about Asterion? Let me think. He looks at the sky and clenches his fist around the strap of his bag. First time he was here, we asked him to find some iron in Gale rocks. The second time, he did bring us a few scraps, but was wounded. A piece of flesh bitten away from his thigh. Said that a 100-legged worm had caught him off guard in a meadow. Instead of his pay, we offered him a potion. Tell me about Gale rocks. He hesitates, but finally nods. Just some seaweed eaters. Their soil was barren, but the strongest of them spend their days on boats among the sharp rocks. Those who can't hunt for fish boil water to make salt. They trade with other villages. More than anyone in the peninsula, for crops, wood, meat, he snorts. But they're weak folk, weak and angry, like a wolf beaten and kicked from a pup, loud, ready to bite. But all it takes is someone to raise their hand, then it jumps away, whimpers. Okay, so we know now to go and be intimidating up there. At least they follow the right's teachings. Anything noteworthy about the iron he delivered? Scavenged from furniture, a few of them rusty, who knows where he brought them. Melted them for nails. Other than the middle of the woods, I used to, but like all places that belong to beasts, it shifts every year. The only reason why it still has trails is that all the creatures use our roads as their own game trails. Only a dimwit will try to cross it now. After you ask him if he knows any such person, he takes a deep breath. Well, last I heard, Quintus, the gatekeeper from Old Pagos, is missing or dead. He's a brute and an idiot. Can't understand jokes, can't stand weaklings. If thou ever meet him, just smile and let him speak as much as he needs to. Shut up. Have I met Quintus? Quintus. Oh, he's the gatekeeper. No, he's fine. Don't be rude to Quintus. Hunters from Quakes. Not a soul here has emptied the temple in however long. Yeah, no, that's fine. Trying to learn more about the bandits. They don't bother you. Okay. Can I put a rod up here? You brought her magic here. He steps back while Decima turns towards you and reaches behind her back with one hand. Ailey's voice is close to a shout. Take it away before you put it on. All of us in danger. Calm down. It's just a piece of bronze. His pale face starts turning red. The echo adds a thunder to his words. You're not asked for your thoughts. You think for yourself a judge after you put a trust in that witch. He points at you with bandaged finger. She's a beast in clothes. Its claws will tear away thy head. Alright. Fine then, be that. Do you need help? No. Questions about the monastery. Does it have a name? Egg Hills, Gale Rocks, Temple Pagos. We just call it the monastery. Buttons. I'll disconnect it again. Oh, there we go, we're back. We respect the hardships of one's journeys, but so we don't scare off the strangers who cross the mountains, but we don't let them wander about and take our time for granted. Looks at his bandaged hand, makes a fist, then opens it and stretches out his fingers. Maybe with old Pagos locked, our old rules too shall change. Not enough trust. Okay, the necromancers. He rubs the liver spot on his forehead with his bandaged hand, looking with one eye at his short companion. This and that. What do you think of White Marshes? I don't think much at all. As the tribe follows Arentius, their priest, they're no longer our allies. Who knows, maybe he's the reason why so many travellers have disappeared on the roads. Decima scratches the ground with her boot, humming a little tune, but Ailey tells her to shut up. He carries on with sudden anger. The story is old as the Bright's tablets. Tribes took the monsters and asked themselves, how can we use them? Their pride pushes them into their own fall. They hurt the innocent, then vanish the flames, or awake empty ones. Thoughts on Arentius? He's never been here. He's locked in that hut, a prisoner of his own conscience, speaking to his tribe as to children. Could there be a darker joke? A necromancer who calls himself a prophet? As he snorts, Decima puts on a wide grin. What next? An emperor bathing in blood? No follower of the right could survive such a fall. What's the stance on necromancy in general? My stance? I don't need one. I trust the right. The dead makers must be weeded out. Their power only brings fogs. One may think the spellcaster is in control of the shells, but once they lose their breath, the dead are freed, searching for blood. Humans will never control the dead. How does one deal with the undead, or necromancers? Well, it is a single corpse, a squad, an army. They'll need us to learn how shrewd the enemy is. Can it sense thy presence? Can it use a bow or spells? As long as thou art alone, it's always better to run. The older empty ones, even more so than those that weren't awoken by the fogs, get cunning, human-like, but with cruelty thou hast never seen. What was White Marshes like? Far from lovely, his smirk softens as his eyes grow worried. They've been struggling for years, with food, children, the beasts of the bogs, the traders. They were strangers to us, even in the old days, when they used to join old Pagos in their pagan feasts. He looks at Decima, who listens to his tale curiously. But then the monks arrived, and that bridge went down with flames. When the missionaries reached the bogs during the years of the war, there were already some wounds that could never be sealed, not even by a shared prayer. Do you have anything to barter? Could bring you dragon bones or something else. Taste, softness, tools of murder. We shall crave naught. One thing we lack are delicacies we could offer to the sick and weak, but thou wilt not find such a thing in the sad land. Um, I'm just kind of gonna skip through this. Blah 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 blah. Okay, nothing else. We have 6 hours to travel. Okay, how do we go about this then? We're alright on food. We want to get into Alwa's Dell. Actually, what was it? Was it the rods? They're thinking of bronze rods. Need to have one in White Marshes, which is there. Right. Okay. As you descend, you think of Ailey's reaction to Bronze Rod. You could ignore him and take a few minutes to tie it to one of the ledges just nearby. Place is already high above the woodlands. Just in case, I look behind, then get on the ground. You seek a spot that isn't too easily seen from the trail, then make sure it won't crumble under your weight. After a few minutes, you finish placing the rod, held by cord and a few heavy rocks. You doubt anyone would stumble on it. Real sneaky. Okay. Wrap myself with every piece of clothing. At least I keep my blood. Okay. We still need a way to get past those reliably. Falcon rests on a broken signpost but soars into the sky before you get closer. For a few minutes it flies above you, maybe waiting for you to leave. There are some ripe fruits in sight. Forage for plants. Large apples, not as sour as the wild ones, and some wild strawberries. Picking them takes little effort. The short meadow hides nothing more dangerous than rats, rabbits, and mice, and grasshoppers. With the help of your mount, you reach the higher branches. Okay. It is 2 hours 15. So I guess we'll stay at White Marshes. Tell him about Valen's situation. He stares into the distance towards the village. Poor thing, a fierce soul with too much patience. By the ground, but there's nothing I can do. After you ask him for advice, he spits on the ground. Lie, I guess. Arentius already did. Won't be happy with you causing pain to his people. And Helvius never, unless the hunter was lying too. Helvius. Humans. Not really a person. Actually, no. Missing hunters. Edmund Dalia Vashel. Okay. No. Need to meet with Arentius. What can you sell me? Poisonous yellow dust that withers the plants. I can't buy it. Ooh, a grappling hook. A grappling hook could help. Do I want to take the sting ointment now? Yeah, okay. They were completely broke. Inventory. Rather hold on to my food rations. 2 bunches, done. Cool. Can't get here before nightfall. Travel to White Marshes. But you can travel like that. That's interesting. On your way to the village, you see a girl no older than 15 walking through the tall purple grasses along with a few other youngsters. After she notices your arrival, she runs towards the road, waving to draw your attention. Can I help you? It takes her a few more moments to reach you. Her clothes are baggy, appropriately so for her age, but she's also rather scraggly for a labourer. She carries a slingshot and a simple backpack made of creepers and twigs, filled with green leaves, wild fruit, and a dead squirrel lying on the surface. After your question, she gives you a curious glance. Roadwarden, parents told me. Not sure which part of it is a question, you nod in agreement. Well, what is it that one does really? Hunt bounties? Mostly patrol the roads and travel between villages. Some roadwardens seek bounties, yes, but I do all sorts of things, whatever's needed. Oh, you're an adventurer then. She makes an odd displeased grimace, then sneezes and smiles at you. Not really. Adventurers are paid to do odd jobs, but often don't follow city laws nor the local ones, unlike road wardens. Close enough for the girl. She meets your eyes proudly, purses her lips, and runs back to the rest of the group. The group that you encountered at the old forest garden is close to the gate. During their training, they use meatless undead in order to dodge their attacks. Go to Helvius. No. Valens welcomes you with hungry eyes. I know what's in the letter. Quick save. I know what's in the letter. Puts a hand on his forehead. Can't tell if it's a sign of relief or tension. Repeat to him his husband's words. At first he freezes, then gives a hateful look towards Arentius' hut. He knew what this piece of shit did, he growls. He always asked to be heard, only to spread lies. Why do I need to find a stranger to hear the truth for once in my life? His eyes get gentler once he looks at you, but you notice the tears in his eyes. His shaking hands offer you the reward. Now, about the tablet. Here you go. I don't want it, he steps away. You know what? Take this. He pulls out a bone stylus and that perfectly matches the colours of the tablet. Together, they'll buy you a few mules at a trader's stall. Good luck, Warden. Farewell. You notice that the flies land either on the locals or on the palfrey. They avoid the awoken shells without exception. You notice a skinny woman in a blue headscarf. She stares at your mount like a wolf at an elk. People from other tribes are looking for spouses. The taller gatekeeper gives you a long look. We need no matchmaker here. Our youth's work to do. Only then they're free to go wherever they want. After you ask if the village is open to invite new dwellers, he snorts. You think we're going to move to the village of the dead? Good joke. Approach the woman who observes Sodal. She moves away but meets your eyes and makes a smile-like grimace, then leads you behind an empty animal pen, away from the guard's ear. Her grey hair, mostly covered, is deceiving. She's no older than 30, yet her face is marked by insect bites and pustule scars. She takes confident steps, even though she wears muddy foot wraps without boots and a worn simple skirt. She squeezes on the front of her scarf on her chest, shaping it into something like a short hooded cloak. A warden, I heard. She answers your nod by pursing her lips. I need you to ride somewhere for me. Tell me. Far away from here, at the eastern rock, there's an old bridge made of a single rock. She doesn't look away for a single heartbeat. Her gaunt face is pale and makes her large grey eyes look as if someone took their colour away. Beneath it, there's a rock, and beneath the rock is a purse with my savings. Bring it to me. Before you mention your reward, she She starts to speak faster, giving the men at the gate a nervous glance. Half of what you find is yours, bring me the rest. Oh, I already found it. She gives you a puzzled look, maybe wondering how to ask what pushed you to dig in the muddy riverbanks. But after seeing the curious looks of the guard, she leads you to behind a turf house and reaches out to you with an open palm. Couch was torn and rotten. Here, the only dragon bone I found. She looks at the sky, then to the ground. For 2 heartbeats, she can't stop herself from revealing the despair in her eyes, but she then adjusts her headscarf, takes a deep breath, and moves her shoulders. I have not even a fistful of blueberries to thank you, stranger, but I'll tell you the rest of the village you're a trustworthy messenger, if anyone asks. Hardly anyone does around here. She hobbles away, splashing mud with every step. He hardly spares your glance. Hear what you say about the Awoken, but your tribe used to be strong without them. So what, Warden? That was 10 years ago. Isn't then what isn't? Doesn't matter. We needed to trade, yet the others pushed us away. We won't let them choose for us ever again. Used to sell wood, correct? He nods in approval. In the old days, our firewood warmed up all the walls and toes on the side of Hag Hills by Gale Rocks in the far north, built its own hamlet for woodcarters, and Howler's Dell grew a fine garden for themselves just to get by without us. They have oaks, cherries, and their own darker birches. They have no reason to trade with us, other than peat. You glance at the buildings. While they are indeed new, most settlements in the province could view them as crude and cramped. People have lost Pagos to fighting a plague. Fuck. He looks at the dark clouds inside. Who? Kids? Elders? When you speak, the nearby villagers stop their work and even the undead are told to freeze in place, offering your ears a bit of relief. You answer a lot of questions, making the muddy square even more grim. You hear someone weeping and a young woman announcing, "It's not fear, even for them." The mayor nods in agreement, keeping the axe on his shoulders. I will tell Laurentius. From now on we'll gather our wood chips and twigs in a shed. He raises his voice, looking into his tribe's eyes. We made enough of them before winter. Any missing hunters here? His voice remains the same, but he squeezes the long haft of his axe. Dahlia, right? Was here, but many days ago. Questions on howlers and cats. Some dumb bitch, she told me, was heading back north. I could tell him about the woman that asked me to find her savings. It's quick save before I do, though. You meet his gaze, both harsh and condescending. You've no doubt he won't take any accusations lightly. Tell the truth. He takes a long pause, then tilts his axe. Tell me what she looks like. After a brief exchange, he gestures for one of the guards to approach him, and whispers something into his ear. I'll speak with her, but you're doing the right thing. She's in the tribe's debt, and doesn't deserve the right to leave before she's done her part. Now put a rod up? Gee what? Let me see. He swings the hollow piece of bronze like a sword made from a branch, then raises it above his head, staring at it with little patience. A lightning catcher or a toy? Well, he gives it back. Come one day before noon. You'll go out with the foragers, has a guard, work for them for half a day, and we'll put it in a tree or on a roof mayhap. Can I just pay you? 5 bones, maybe another time. Quick load. I'm not going to tell him about that. Maybe another time. Where's the cell? Pay you for 3 with 1 bone. That's all. Alright, feel well. And sleep. rain once again hits the ground, interrupting your sleep. Another day of muddy roads. A persistent shouting voice wakes you up. Weak moonbeams squint through the smoke holes, but to have a proper look around, you open the door. There are flicking torches at the main gate, accompanied by a solemn prayer and timid shouts. You put on your cloak and boots and leave the shed. A few of the locals, dressed in their regular worn and muddy clothes, surrounded by a large group of the undead, touching their half-rotten limbs, revealed rib cages, emotionless heads. A hooded woman, sonorously, singingly begs for right's guidance and protection, but you don't pay much attention to her words. The man known as Arentius is standing beside the gathering, with a revealed torso and a walking stick beneath his shoulder. Every now and then he cuts his sides or his back and fills a wooden bowl slightly. Then a follower steps closer, putting 2 fingers inside the liquid, and takes it to one of the awoken creations. The lights dance around them, casting shadows that you could swear hide cruel spirits. You don't know how long you have been observing the ritual when the scar-covered man returns to you. His innocent, sad eyes carry no judgment or reprimand, yet you suddenly notice how cold your calves and neck are. Autumn is surely getting closer. You wade through the mud. This is what happened to them, and they will feel justified doing that. They use blood magic. United Church learns about this, they won't let it go. They hide to Valens. He's moving small packages, bringing order to some neglected shelves. His eyes are red from crying, but he greets you with a strong voice and a polite smile. This time, he's wearing a decent blue tunic. Back with us, Buddha. Been so long since I saw some visiting our home as often as you do. That's how my job works. I go where others don't. He gives you a long look, as if he's not sure if it's meant to be an insult, then turns back to the bags. Oh yeah, I guess that is kind of backhanded, isn't it? Yeah, I come to this place that nobody else wants to come to. Whoops. I'm looking after our grain and dried meat before fall comes, thanks to, he draws in the air and lowers his voice, Arentius's help. We've got more food than in many years, but now we need to figure out what goes in our bellies, what back to the soil. We have some supplies I could sell. And I'm not selling you guys shit. Do up. Quick save. Obvious. Just use rod. Very well, I'll do the work. Oh, also I need to eat before I do fucking anything. Can't use your inventory right now. Okay. After half an hour or so, the expedition is ready. 6 souls, none of them older than 40, and with no undead to assist them. Too dumb, the oldest woman explains. And with no overseer with us. Their accents are heavy, but they rarely address you. For most of the time, they exchange single-word commands, gesturing for you to quiet down whenever you step on a branch. You spend half a day following the bog paths, but also going deeper into the wilderness. As a group, you manage to scare away the smaller beasts, and your guide claims to lead you around the hunting territories of a larger predator. From time to time, you keep to what looks like the most inconvenient trails in sight, yet no one objects. You cross the mud, shallow waters, and ancient dark game trails, tracking any movement among the leaves. Hungry and annoyed by the insects, you go back to white marshes carrying baskets and sacks full of mushrooms, berries, herbs, and great leaves, but also a few birds and fairy critters. I hardly pay attention to the group, just look for monsters. Elvius waits for you at the gate, nodding with approval. 2 steps away from him, you see a short corpse, bare boned above the waist, but still wearing pants and carrying scraps of meat on its feet. Not giving you a moment for breath, the mayor tells you to fetch him a rod. After you do so, he throws it at the undead, bouncing the rod off its head with a thud, and starts to laugh. Go on now, he commands it. Put it on the tree there, and tie it with rope. His worker bows down to pick up the tools and obediently walks away. We had a deal. He raises his chin and wrenches himself away easily, yet, at least for a moment, he looks at you with a frown, surprised with your resolve. With no trees inside, he hisses, "It is as good as you can get." He then leaves you behind, amused with the way the undead tries to approach the new challenge. A few times you hear the dead shell falling from a branch and the man's sonorous laughter. Alright. Eat a food ration. Now, where is it worth travelling? So we still good on time? No, we probably want to call it. Going to call it. As always, thank you for watching, whether it's live or the VOD. I do appreciate it. Next week, I'll probably move some stuff around. I'm not sure what I'm doing on Monday since it's my birthday, but I'll figure it out over the weekend. Tomorrow there's more Grandia, hoping to make a bigger, decenter dent into the story, so looking forward to it. Until then, bye bye.